Okay, 101, week 8, part 5. Um, so you got the technical information about books. This is the most boring shit. This is stuff like the translator, the publisher, the exact page number, the date of publication, if it's in a journal, the volume of the journal, if it's on the internet, the exact web address, that right, the boring shit. It goes to the bottom of the paper. It used to be called a bibliography. The biblio means books. The Bible, the B-I-B in Bible is the same B-I-B in bibliography, because the Bible is a collection of books, Genesis, Exodus, Deuteronomy, Leviticus. Um, and a bibliography is a list of books that you quoted in your paper. Now, because people don't quote books anymore, they now quote websites and they quote movies. They don't call it a bibliography anymore. They call it a works cited. Again, cited, citation, using other people's words and ideas in your paper and giving them credit. So that's what they're doing. So the technical shit, it is incredibly boring. But let's do it anyway. So let's go back to the same example I was using here. In his essay, The Critic as Artist, playwright and philosopher Oscar Wilde writes, as long as, quote, you see quotation marks, as long as war is regarded as wicked, it will always have its fascination. When it is looked upon as vulgar, it will cease to be popular. 405. See how that's new? You haven't seen that before on this handout. But there's a 405. Why? Because it's on page 405 of the book. What book? The Critic as Artist is the name of the essay. This is on page 405 of some book. Now, we don't know what book right now. You'll find out when you get to the end of the paper, because the end of the paper is where you put your bibliography, and then people go, oh, it's page 405 of that book. We haven't gotten to that yet. So, page 405. Couple of things to notice about it. Most people, see, the quotation ends, and most people want to put a period after the R. But see, the period's over here. Why? Because you gotta if you put the period here, I feel like the whole thing is over. That's the period's the end of the sentence. But this 405, if you put the period here, it's gonna make it look like the 405 goes with everything on this side. But instead, oh, the city's being so loud I can't teach. Okay, you gotta put the period on this side so that I know the 405 goes with everything over here. So, couple of things. Because the 405 goes with the previous sentence, the period goes out there. You put the 405. Now, you're going to want to write page 405 or P405, or don't do that. Just put 405. People know it's the page number. And then you put it in parentheses, and you got the parentheses on the side there. And since there's like a little space between the quotation mark, you hit the R, the quotation mark, the space, the parentheses, the 405, the parentheses, the period. So it's the technical information. If I was quoting 405 to 406, I would do it like this: 405-406. Now, in case the quote goes from one page to another. So it's a bunch of technical information. Now, here's the annoying part. You got to do it exactly like that. You got to do it exactly like that. Don't put a little, so there's a bunch of stuff not to do, right? So you don't write the word and, don't put an ampersand, don't put a plus sign, don't put a commas between the numbers. Don't put the quotation marks after the parentheses. A lot of my students want to put the quotation, the period goes here, so they figure the quotation mark should also go here. Don't do it, put it over there. Don't put the period before the number in parentheses, right? Don't put the period here, put it here. Yeah, don't do brackets like this or braces like that. These are two different things. What you want to do is these curvy ones called parentheses. You don't. Here's the happy part. And again, I know this is so boring. You probably all went to sleep and you're not paying any more attention. But here's the crucial part. You don't need to memorize this shit. Just look it up. Just look it up. Just have my handout out and then copy the way I did it. You do it like that with your books. It's that simple. So whatever, and don't put 405. Whatever page number the thing is on, you put the page number. And then you put the parentheses in there, and you do it just like that. Now, to keep this extra simple, I've recommended you say the name of the author and the name of the book before the first time you quote it. If you don't do that, there's all this other bullshit. Because if you don't say the name of the author, if you say, for example, in the Phaedrus, and then you put the quote, then you have to put Plato 405. Just don't do it. Just say Plato's name in the thing, and then all you have to do is put the page number in parentheses. It just makes life much easier. Now, that's how you quote books. Put the page number, whatever book you're quoting, you put the page number of the book after the quote, and you put it in just like that. Pretty easy. The problem is that you're not always quoting books. There are so many things you could quote. You can quote song lyrics. You can quote a movie. You can quote a Shakespeare play. You can quote a poem. You could quote a government document. You could quote a personal interview. You could quote a YouTube clip, right? It goes on forever. So what goes in parentheses after the quote? Well, it kind of depends on the thing that you're quoting. There's all these different rules for hundreds of different things. For example, if you're quoting a website, those don't have pages. And so you don't need to put anything in parentheses after the quote. You don't even need to put parentheses. You just put the quote down. So it's on the internet. You can't put a page number. There's no page numbers. Like an audiobook or something, So the point is it changes for lots of different things. Now, I'm going to let you learn those things depending on what class you're going to take. And again, they sell a book that's like how to cite stuff in college or whatever, the MLA citation guide or whatever. And it's huge because it's meant to cover everything you would quote in every class you're going to take. For my class, right now, I'm going to start off with the most basic one, teaching you how to quote books. Now, this handout also has information about special situations if you're quoting poems, because I teach poems in some of my classes. It has some special information about how to quote Shakespeare, because I teach Shakespeare in some of my classes. And it has special information about how to quote movies, because I have a film class. I'm not going to go over that now. But the point is, in poems, there's like lines, but then the poem will like have a couple of words, then it starts a new line, and then have a couple of words, and it starts a new line. If you're quoting that, you got to put like a slash to show that the poet started a new line. If it's a Shakespeare play, you don't quote by page number, you have to put the act number and the scene number and the line number. So anyway, there's different ways to do it. I'm not going over all of that now. You can figure it out, and it's on the handout. You can read the handout and learn it. It's not super difficult. It's not difficult, but it's boring. It's so boring you won't do it. And again, the Bible is slightly different. And I hate to tell you this, but Plato is actually slightly different too, although I'm going to let you do it the easy way in my course with Plato. Okay, cool. All right. So there's special rules for these for films, and if you're quoting films and quoting websites, it's on page 6 of the handout. So if you take, I guess you can't really see that very good, but page 6 of the handout has some stuff about quoting poetry. This is page 6. Quoting poetry and quoting plays and quoting films. And I'm not going to go over that detail work now, but if you're in one of those classes that needs it, just read it carefully. And if you have any questions, email me about it, and I will see what I can do. Again, it's not hard to do. It's just annoying. All right, cool. So now we have reached the most annoying part of the entire semester, which is that technical shit that goes at the bottom of the paper, the works cited. So in your paper, every time you quote, you got to have like a page number, or again, if it's poetry, it's a line number. If it's Shakespeare, it's act, scene, line number, etc. But when you get to the bottom of the paper, you got to do the works cited, and it's got a lot of technical information in it. So let's talk about that technical information. Let's see if we can figure that shit out. Okay, here we go. Now here's the problem with the technical information. Remember when I said all those different things you can quote, like movies and plays and poems and YouTube videos and lectures and personal interviews and dissertations and government documents, and all that has different technical information. So I'm going to let you learn the technical information depending on what you're quoting. So when you take a class, you're going to have to learn the technical information might be different for one class than it would be for another class. There's a whole list of different things they're going to want. So technical information might include shit like the author, the title of the thing, the title of the container, because sometimes things are in other things, the version, the number, the publisher, the publication date, other contributors, translators, editors, publish. It's fucking boring. Here's the crucial thing. This is what you need to know. You're almost always going to need author, the title of the thing, the publisher, and the date. That's what you're going to need. The author, and this is not surprising, the author, the title, the publisher, and the date. Those are the 4 most important things you're going to need to put in the works cited at the bottom of the paper. So my students, for example, when they get down to the bottom of the paper, they love to write Plato, Phaedrus. See, but you left out the translator, and you left out the publisher, and you left out the date. So, all right, we'll pick this up in the next video for how to do the technical information. I promise it's not that hard.